Hello everyone and welcome back to Make Believe, where we're playing World and Economica. Last time we had a chat with Lisa and we learned a bit more about Agana and Lisa and even Mr. Toyama, I guess. So let's see how Yoshiharu is gonna act the next day with the whole stocks opening up again and how he's gonna talk with Hagana now that he knows some stuff. So let's find out. The next day marked the first rainfall in a long while on the moon. Of course, it wasn't some natural phenomenon, but rain generated on a managed schedule. Yeah, that makes sense because they have that dome thing, like simulating night, day, the rain. There were air purification mechanisms all over the place. However, the moon's low gravity allowed dust particles generated from people's everyday living and erosion of buildings to kick up in the air easily. Oh, I can imagine that. That must be annoying. Therefore, washing everything down with some rain was more effective. And so, since morning, water had passed through the conduits spread along the seams of the dome and fallen quietly from the sky as rain. Furthermore, the system managed to replicate the feel of a cloudy sky by lowering the visibility. Oh yeah, I guess you can do it like that. I'd heard that on Earth, sometimes houses would get blown away or everything would be flooded as far as the eye could see. Meanwhile, on the moon, all you get would be the same gentle rain. Oh, that's true, because since the weather is simulated here, there won't be natural disasters that of exaggerated proportions, such as typhoons and those floods. That's the bright side. However, I guess the rain did put a damper on me. It was probably because rainy days were planned out in advance and stores were often closed due to the lack of foot traffic in the city. A hush fell over everything. Yep, rainy days all have that certain mood to them. I did some light exercises and left my room while hugging my computer. Are you going to the living room? Yep, yes you are. Everyone's here. The living room was dim, even with the lights on. Lisa and Hagana were in the middle having some bread. Ah, we're having breakfast here. Oh, good morning. I, with my curt reply, I placed my computer on the table and opened the display. It was still about an hour before the markets opened, but I wanted to check the news. Yep, I was checking the news to make sure what to invest on. You sure some junkie. How many slices of bread do you want? One slice. Just one slice? You're a guy, you know. Is that enough? Okay, then two slices. Three would. It's my best offer. I was only looking at the screen when I answered, and I could hear Lisa muttering complaints about my reply. But she seemed to be having fun, so I didn't really get it. Glancing over sideways, yeah, just everyone's in a happy mood right now. Glancing over sideways at Lisa naturally put Hagana into my field of vision. I felt a little self-conscious after that talk with Lisa yesterday. Yeah, I can imagine that. But Hagana was ignoring me as usual, quietly nibbling on bread without giving me a glance. So are you gonna interact with her? Her smooth black hair and her thin fingers felt like artificial creations. So you're saying that he's out of this world? Something unnatural in a good way? Her small mouth made me wonder if it was even big enough for everyday necessities, and she also had those spunky eyes. He's describing Hagana way more each time, huh? If you ignore her personality and just judge her by looks, I felt that it certainly would be odd if there were people who were willing to buy her with money. Ah, that's why he was paying attention to her looks. And the moon was filled with people who had that type of money. On average, a working person would be able to make from 2 to 3 million moves in his lifetime. Thus, to buy that girl, 5 million moves would be plenty. This was certainly an amount that people at the head of the pack of the moon would be able to afford. Buying people with money. As a concept, I thought it was actually pretty natural. However, once face to face with someone who was actually involved in the matter, I had a very strange feeling about it, even before mentioning pity. Yeah, there's a whole different story if you just hear about it and you experience or know somebody that experienced it. Like, it's night and day the difference. What? I snapped back to reality when Hagana cast a suspicious gaze at me. I mean, you were eyeing her. It turned out I'd been staring at Hagana without realizing it. Yep, you were checking her appearance for a different meaning. She stared at me with suspicion for a while, then looked around herself and wiped her mouth. Realized there was nothing clinging to her mouth, she continued to stare at me suspiciously. There's nothing stuck to it. I checked before you said anything anyway. It was her usual bad-tempered tone, but for some reason I wasn't really pissed off by it. Yeah, you're having a hard time getting mad at her right now. If I calmed down and listened to what she said, it's not like it was anything particularly bizarre. Thank you! You're finally understanding. Not everything has to create a war between you two. Just pay attention. It wasn't like I was going to ignore her, even if I could see Lisa look at me worriedly from behind Hagana. Hey, girl, what's with the black getup all the time? What about it? Is it really any of your business? I thought that would have been her follow-up. Thinking about it calmly, though, I wondered if it might be a real question rather than a rhetorical quip. If I placed myself in her shoes, I'd definitely ask something similar if I had just been stared at, and then ask about my clothing. Yeah, exactly. Like, I shrugged and said, "Oh, I was kind of curious since you always dress the same. Aren't you guys all dressing the same? Actually, if anything, we've seen Hagen with different clothes more than either you or Lisa." Lisa? Did Lisa have different clothes before? I don't remember. I don't think so. Well, aren't you the same, Brad? Yeah, exactly. I guess I could deal with that answer. At that moment, Lisa had been placing toast on the plates cut in. Hagana? He's Hal, not Brett. Well, he called me hey girl. Wait, why is Hal saying that? Is he just mocking? Hal? While spreading butter on the bread, Lisa called my name while jerking her chin lightly in Hagana's direction. Hagana? What is she trying to... What? Is she trying to train us like dogs? So I guess being stubborn would be something only a child would do. I opened my mouth in resignation. Oh, Miss Hagana, I was just curious as to why you possess clothes which all bear the same appearance. Wow, that's just very mocking. I recall what I learned in grade school. Good job. And Lisa replied like a teacher. Okay, Hagana? Lisa turned towards Hagana. What is this? Hagana was surprisingly hesitant. I felt like she had been looking back and forth between my face and Lisa's face at least twice now. The hesitant Hagana was like a little animal that had been squirted with a water bottle. Yeah, I can see that. Oh, well, you're the same. How? Good, well done. Yeah, she's getting there. This was the first time I saw Hagana fumble at words. If not for her spoiled princess demeanor, she had as much emotion as a metallic robot. But with this, she immediately started looking more girlish. I couldn't help feeling that I was just a simple guy. Hagana's looks, at least, were cute. Well, about the exchange we just had, I do have some opinions of my own. Lisa said as she handed me a sliced bread, and both Hagana and I looked at her. Now they're getting the reports on the results. She cleared her throat and said, "You two, be more conscious about how you're dressed." Oh, did not expect that. Looking over our synchronized eyebrow furrowing, she continued. Lavish decorations lead to ruin, but going around in rags lead to ruin as well. Yeah. Like, both the lack of and the exaggerations are both not good. It's kind of a waste when you can still wear them though. I'm not saying you shouldn't wear them anymore. It's just don't wear them all the time. Regality is important, but so is looking proper. Mine are rags. Yeah, but you only have one set of those. Huh? Lisa and Hagana turned together to look at me after my exclamation. Hagana proceeded to repeat herself. Mine are not rags. I wrinkled my upper lip. And they don't stink. With that line, I became uneasy rather than mad. It's starting to smell again? I lost trust in myself and ended up trying to smell myself. Lisa smiled wryly. No, you're okay. For now, at least. Oh, so it was fine all along. But you stunk before. Oh, shut up. Shut up? My brows were fully wrinkled. Being asked to repeat myself directly ticked me off a bit. Oh, really? You're getting ticked off. What a surprise. As we glared at each other intensely, Lisa tapped her fork on the plate. Stop it, you two. Besides, both of you only have one set of clothing. That is kind of rare around here. Okay, so they really do only have one set of clothing. Lisa cut off our impending but continuing to talk. Hagana, you don't have classes today, right? Lisa suddenly changed the topic, but Hagana was unfazed and answered immediately. Yes. And how? You're free this evening? When I got asked, I ended up answering in stupid frankness. Well, if it's after 5... Wait, don't tell me. That's right. When the rain stops in the evening, the two of you go shop for some clothes. The shopping center on the second block has a ton of inexpensive clothing stores. Ah, she's not going. She's just sending both of them together. Oh, some interesting development. Hagana and I look at each other. Your answer? Hagana turned to Lisa when she was asked that, like one of Pavlov's trained dogs. Speak of training dogs. And after turning to Lisa, she made a face, her own way of saying, oh shoot. Lisa looked straight back at her and smiled, just unfazed by her response. I guess Lisa's smile was unblockable from the point of view of Hagana, who had supposedly thrown away the precious book of Lisa's, lending the church a huge amount of doubt. Oh, guilt. Staring down slightly and resigning herself to her decision, she replied in her usual manner. Yes. What about you, Hal? If I had said no here, we'd know immediately who was being a child. What a surprise. Furthermore, I was neither boorish nor obtuse enough to be able to stand being called smelly all the time. However, I just couldn't shake the principle of it being unnecessary spending. As I looked over my clothing futility one last time, Lisa had been looking at me, smiling. At that moment, I realized why Lisa appeared so mature. This woman, with just a smile, was able to display a plethora of emotions. Yup. You must be due to being older. Partially. I sat in my resignation and replied, Alright, I got it. Good. She was smiling happily when she said that. Yeah, if somebody can keep control of Hagana and Yoshiharu, it's Lisa. Maybe it was due to the weather, but the markets today didn't really have any particular momentum, make my job difficult. Stocks could only move either up or down, and so on a day where there was no clear direction of movement, trading strategy I usually use yielded nothing for me to do. For example, there were times when the stocks would all tumble because of some random trigger. As a result of my gluing my eyes to the news, I realized that it didn't matter exactly what triggered it. It might be, for example, that a large enterprise fiscal reports were bad, or a politician of a developed country was caught in some immoral scandal, or perhaps that the planets have the line. Oh my god, what? I can understand the first two, but how does the planet aligning? Oh, I guess if by planets you're counting the Earth and the Moon, since the Moon is inhabited and with some companies. But other than that, I had no idea how the rest can affect it. I knew that on those days, it didn't matter whether a particular company had good earnings or bad earnings. Its stock would get dragged down in price anyway. Hence, on those days, I watched the display without trading, seeking out stocks that had been dragged down by the general sentiment in the market. It's strange, but on those days when stock would fall for some random trivial reason, I'd always see people selling off as if the world were ending soon. Yet they're losing their money. These cowards would sell off that day, but would then rally the next. Yeah, I guess they don't really have perseverance. Not sure if that's the word I want to use there. On the other hand, when the markets were on a bull run, it'd become a chaotic festival, with people selling and buying stocks one after another. That's when it is the most active. But on dull days like this, I could buy some stocks for 10 moves and then remain at 10 moves at the rest of the day. And if I did that, I'd definitely lose out due to the commissions. I was scoping out the situation during morning trading, but it looked like it was going to be like this for the whole day. On these days, if I forced myself to do some trading, I'd only end up losing then. Even disregarding that, my recent losses had started standing out, so I didn't push myself and decided to close the computer. But man, this rain. It was dark outside, and the drizzle continued. Outside my window was a narrow alley, so no one passed by. Shutting down the computer made the room silent, except for the sound of raindrops hitting the ground under the eaves. Oh, I thought it was gonna mention hitting the window, but sure, the ground. Agnes should be the next room over, but was silent as usual. Wonder what I should do. This was a problem once I decided to not trade for the day, because that's all he does. So when he's not doing that, what does he do? I'd end up not being able to figure out what to do. Anyway, I decided to leave my room and walk down the dim hallway towards the living room. Entering the living room, I saw Lisa reading a book while sitting on the shabby sofa. Oh, look at her holding the book. Look at that. New visual. A new, yeah, character model kind of thing. Oh. I guess Lisa must knows my footsteps as she turned towards me. I didn't answer immediately, instead took some orange juice from the fridge and poured some into a cup. Well, it would probably be more authentic if we were some middle-class family from the White Belt, but around here the orange juice was just some orange-colored, sweet-tasting chemical concoction. Huh. Not working on the computer today? Can't get into the mood. Oh yeah? Well, I guess you do have those days. Lisa wasn't particularly interested in returning to reading. There was some digitized version, but the real deal. Yeah, we saw a bunch of them in her room. When her slender fingers flipped the page, it made an unreliable sound. What do you mean by unreliable? What are you reading? Lisa looked at me and paused for a second. It looked like she was thinking about how to answer my question. It's a very old book you totally wouldn't get. Of course, that totally wouldn't get was her mimicking me. Oh my god, I just noticed her expression. Oh my god. She's having a lot of different expressions with this pose. When I made a face, she turned back to her book, her shoulders shaking with amusement like a child's. Fraser's the Golden Bow. Bow? Is that how you pronounce that? What? It's a book of religious stories from all over the world, collected by some curious Englishmen more than 100 years ago. On rainy days, I start wanting to read this for some reason. Lisa flipped the page again while talking. Is it interesting? Hmm? Well, the book itself doesn't present any clear conclusions, and to be honest, there's a ton of falsehood in here as well. However, it is the distillation of millennia of human cultures, so... At that point, Lisa stopped to press her face up to the page, as if she were savoring the scent of the book. Perhaps it's just as appropriate for a Christian like me to be reading this book while it's raining on the moon. Totally not getting it. There's that saying that you shouldn't underestimate the world. I got the feeling that she dodged the question, treating me as a kid again, and I scratched my head lightly. So, in the end, it's just an elegant way of passing the time, right? Exactly. Her simple reply actually made it more interesting. Uninteresting? Uninteresting. Got it. In other words, it was really stupid to continue, and I heaved a sigh. Speaking of which, you sure look bored. I guess. My goodness. A proper young person being idle isn't a good thing. On days like this, especially, but yeah, I get that. On rainy days, just you want to stay in bed, like watch TV or something, just not do anything. Well, I agree with that, but there is a problem. A problem? Of course there is. It's unhealthy for a young man to merely listless wander around all day. Well, there really isn't anything for me to do, so what should I be doing? There's nothing? What, are you going to suggest I go study or something? Lisa smiled with a troubled face. Do I look like the type of person to say that? Surprisingly, no. She then laughed at my response. You don't have any hobbies other than doing your computer thing? Hobbies? No, he's just a super serious guy that just cares about stock trading and money. I furrowed my brows instinctively and shot back a reply. Hobby. You're calling this hobby? Don't tell me you actually don't have anything else. Oh, what? I kind of shrank back from Lisa's serious gaze. No problem with that. Oh? I totally don't have time for no hobbies. I said that from the bottom of my heart, but it ended up sounding like an excuse. I needed to win the stock market to survive. I needed to excel at the stock market for my dreams. Like I said, all he thinks about the stock market. If there was one thing I lived for, I couldn't imagine being anything other than standing where no one had stood before. I had no time to do leisurely things Lisa would do, like passing the time reading useless books from the annals of history. It was true that currently I had nothing to do and was just wandering around. That was because trading was unexpectedly not going too well. I'm curious, what does he do on Sundays? Does he always just go to Newton City, pass the day there and go back home and sleep? Like, what else does he do? Well, if you're okay with it, then that's fine, I guess. After staring at me for a few moments, she returned to her book. Part of me wasn't quite satisfied with something, but I couldn't pinpoint what. I mean, you still got nothing to do. Unable to figure it out, I continued to stare at Lisa, who then turned the page and said, Well, you know the saying, man does not live by bread alone. What? I responded in earnest because I actually didn't understand, but Lisa didn't give me a reply. She was deep into her book, as if I had simply disappeared. I guess some book more than a century old about the gods of Earth, filled with mountains of lies. It'd be impossible to imagine anyone other than Lisa reading such a book on the moon. It's not like there would be a hobby as pure as this. Usually I just write it off as some idiot wasting their precious life on useless things. But right now I felt as if I were on the losing side for some reason. I was not mistaken. She dedicated my daily life to stock trading, and right now there was a good reason for not trying to push myself to trade. Yeah. However, I felt uneasy, getting the feeling that I would be the very I would be very mistaken to simply stand there. But it was true that I simply wasn't in the mood today. It was a pain to search through the stocks, even though I decided not to trade today. So I also didn't want to return to my room with the computer. I wonder if my feeling like crap was also a product of the rain. Perhaps. As I was staring out the window, I heard a soft pen. Looking in the direction of the strange sound, I noticed Lisa had closed the book. Ah, so that's where the sound was. And then she laughed in resignation. There we are again. Oh well, big sis Lisa's here will play with you. What? It's not like I was asking for that. Oh, really? With that, she simply pulled back. That just sounds like you're a tsundere, Yoshiharu. It's not like I want you to do that. I was actually happy inside about her offer, and thus I regretted my childness. See? See? He was acting very tsundere. However, Lisa apparently was able to sense my actual feelings and see through my act. You only learned that now? And then she chuckled and stared at me leisurely. Boys sure are stubborn. It was true that I didn't have a clue as to what I should do with my spare time. And besides, if I became a pig added here, I'd totally pass out thinking about my stupidity later. But it wasn't the level where I could just say, hey, let's play. I was hesitant for a bit, then conflicted. Finally, I ended up announcing my surrender with a sigh. I want to at least stress that I was going along with this because I had no other option. So what should we do? Since we have a computer, want to play some games? Or maybe we should bake some cookies? Cookies? Oh, you want to make some cookies? Well, that means Kagana could have some later, so let's do that. Well, it's not... Even though I voiced my complaints, they didn't reach Lisa's ear. Yeah, I think he was just asking, like, what cookies? But not like, oh, cookies. She got up from the sofa and performed a big stretch towards the ceiling. It's been a while. I wonder if I'm still any good at baking them. Oh well, I gave up and looked at Lisa. Like, yeah, whatever, let's just do what you want. Well, let's start with some cleanup. And then we gather the ingredients. It'd be okay to rush past that if we were making something else, but with sweets, preparation and process is quite important. I agree. Oh yeah? If we're going to do it, we might as well make some fantastic cookies. Yep, she sure looked like a school teacher. Yeah, I guess she does fit that. Oh, new music. Okay. Okay, nice. Nothing too special, but nice soundtrack. Well, let's first ready the utensils. Okay. Following Lisa's instructions, I collected the utensils and set them on the table. Since it would be bad to get your clothes dirty, here, put this on. Lisa handed me an apron. Yep, I was about to ask that. This was something she always done when making dinner. If I put this on, what are you going to choose? Me? Since I'm just giving directions, I wouldn't need one. Wait, what? So he's the one baking cookies, she's just on the sidelines helping. Okay, let's first get 150 grams of butter. Here. 150 grams? Oh, this scale was calibrated for Earth use. Just, just divide it by 6 and you'd be fine. Wait. So... divided by 6? Is it saying get 150 divided by 6? Or divide the number by 6 to get 150? I'm a bit confused there, but I'll just let it go. What's next? 200 grams of cake flour. That don't divide evenly. Get it like real life. Make compromises. So make it like 198 grams. Such nonsense. This will be fine, right? What's next? 70 grams of granulated sugar. A bit of baking powder. It does call for 1 egg yolk, but I guess a whole egg would be fine too. Hey, I can at least separate a yolk, you know. Okay, once you place all those on the table, spread out a paper towel beneath and sift the cake flour well. If we did a half-hearted job here, the flour would be all clumped up. The paper towel. Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, I guess I've seen something similar in the kitchen before. While recalling something I had seen ages ago, I tapped the sieve, sprinkling flour down. Oh? Your mom's homemade cookies, huh? I wonder if mine would be a match for them. No idea. I'm a bit young to be able to pick up a wife's taste, so I guess it wouldn't be surprising if I lost. I ignored her words and continued to sift the flour. Meanwhile, Lisa poured hot water from a pot into a large bowl. What are you doing? I gotta soften the butter up a bit. Are you done with the sifting? I get it now. She's used the hot water just to place the butter on top to melt it. Something like that, right? Okay, here. She handed me the small bowl of butter and a whisk. What? What, you never, like, mixed it with a whisk before? Slightly dip the bowl with the butter into the hot water and then stir slowly while the butter is softening. We're just softening the butter, so don't melt it. Afterwards, just keep stirring. Don't give such difficult instructions. You must take a shot at everything in life. I don't know why when she started talking about taking a shot, I thought of alcohol. Like, it made no sense. I guess I just remember the scene from earlier where she gave him an alcoholic beverage. But yeah, that would have been a strange turn of events. I heaved a sigh and sank the bowl into the hot water a bit and started letting the butter melt a little, just as I was told. Next to me was Lisa, the foreman, staring at me, shouting out things on a whim like, "You're pushing it too much," or "Put more guts into it." Finally, the butter had become somewhat loose, and I broke it off forcefully and mashed it down. So, how long do I keep stirring? Until it gets to be like melted vanilla ice cream. Ugh. We don't have any electric mixers. Yoshiharu, learn to do it manually. We're in a low gravity environment, so quit complaining. What has gravity to do with it? You're the one that talks about, like, but we're in the moon and stuff. I ended up hugging the bowl and started steering. At first was just sticking to the steer, so I wasn't sure whether I was mixing or just crushing it. But it eventually started turning viscous, so it felt more like mixing. Yeah, it does start like that. Lisa added a pinch of salt, and then after more mixing, dropped the egg in. Okay, keep on mixing. Keep on mixing. Lisa, of all people, started talking in a strange rhythm. I was pretty much totally into it. Mashed things around. And then Lisa lifted her head a bit. Oh, Hagana. When I looked up from the bowl, Hagana was frowning and looked this way, as upset as could be. We're making cookies. Want to come help too? I won't. I'm gonna phrase it simply and walked across the living room to the bathroom. She hasn't been this bad of a mood for a while. Isn't she always like this? When she's in a good mood, she'd ponder it a bit more before saying no. I see. And that was me talking, not Yoshiharu, by the way. It's just very coincidental. With that, I started getting the feeling that I was beginning to understand why Lisa bothered with me. I wonder if she got hit with that difficult of a problem. Lisa was gradually adding cake flour to the bowl, and I put my heart to mixing it so that it wouldn't clump up. They should at least get some motorized cooking implements. Really? So, how long do I keep mixing? Bit longer. Ugh. Alright, no more complaints, mister. Since you're going to be enjoying some delicious cookies afterward. I want to eat them without the manual labor. Like everyone, really. But hey, you gotta work for it. Stop quibbling. Man who does not work does not get to eat. Lisa bopped me on the head, and I brushed her hand away as though it were a nuisance. At that moment, Lisa's mobile terminal let out a ring. Oh, a phone call? And I'm thinking here, like, the last time I baked some cookies must have been like almost a year ago, actually. Lisa got up from the table, picked up the terminal on the wall, and was surprised at the number. Sorry, just mixing this for a bit, okay? With that, she went in the direction of the bathroom. I could only hear her muffled voice through the door, but she sounded happy to me. I had inadvertently strained my ear to hear, probably because of a little bit of jealousy on my part. Why are you feeling jealous? And thus, a sudden ding-dong, like the sound of notes on a dried-up xylophone, gave me a fright, as though I'd been caught misbehaving. What? When I looked around, the door to the bathroom was open, and I could see Lisa's face as she was talking to the terminal. Can you hold on a second? Ow. Go get it. What? The door. Oh. Yeah, I guess he's not used to hearing the doorbell. It appeared the sound had come from the intercom. Oh, an intercom. Okay. Setting the ball down, I walked half-heartedly over towards the entrance of the church. Lisa went back to the bathroom and continued her conversation. But who would visit this place? Perhaps it was a certain Toyama who had come to collect debts again. Didn't he come yesterday? I don't think he would be back so soon. While pondering that, I slid open the bolt and opened the door. Oh, there's one of the characters we saw in the opening. There stood a petite figure, wearing a raincoat and staring down an electronic notebook, typing away at it. Oh, and this person also has a notebook. But you know what? Let's leave this to next time. This mysterious person, we're gonna learn about them next time. So with that being said, we're gonna end it here. I wonder if I should bake some cookies again now that I saw that. I don't know. I don't know if we even have the ingredients for it. But it wouldn't matter for this video anyway. Hello everyone. Just want to say that I actually went and made some cookies 2 days after the recording. So yeah, this episode actually made me feel like baking some cookies. Just wanted to share this. Anyways, let's get back to the game. So we learned that we don't do anything when stock trading. We're not stock trading. And Lisa actually gave us some attention because we were bored. So we were baking some cookies. Hagana's still doing her own thing in her room. And Lisa got a call that she seemed happy about. Wonder what that is about. But we won't find out till next week. With that being said, see you next time. Bye!